Today I've come to, well, it's a bit hard to describe really. I've parked at a place called Cubby's Hall picnic area. It's about 15 miles north of where I live. It's about 20 miles northeast of Carlisle. So it took me about a half-hour drive here, but I'm literally out in the middle of nowhere, and hopefully you can just see from what's all around me. The whole place really is, I think a lot of this is the sort of like evergreen woodland that's you can see there in the distance, and I believe it's run by the Forestry Commission. I was again looking for local footpaths and found this place, but just walking up from where I parked the car, which is only probably a couple hundred yards up that way, I did spot a large bird circling sort of over the trees here, and I've managed to get a few images off there and look it up, and I believe it's a common buzzard. So what a great start to an evening trip out. So I really have no idea what I'm going to see, exactly where I'm going to walk. Fortunately, there's this track for the forestry that is classed as a footpath to wander around, and I suspect there will be others that go off from this. Now, I suspect the most observant of you have noticed I have a new lens, and I got this delivered about 4 days ago. It's the RF 100-500 f4.5L lens. There's probably at least three good reasons to have this. Yes, I have the Sigma 180-600, which gives me a little bit more reach, but the problem I'm having with this particular camera is that it focus hunts quite a bit, even when you're in pretty ideal conditions. And I've found that I'm probably throwing 60-70% of the images away because they are out of focus. And then when you're dealing with something like wildlife, you're then relying on that wildlife being in the right position for the ideal image. So that then also cuts down the amount of images you're going to use. It's also heavy. It's just about 2 kilos. Now, this one is a lot smaller. It weighs a lot less. Yes, I've lost 100mm reach, but the focus on this is unbelievable compared to the Sigma. I've been out the last 3 evenings since I've had this lens around Talking Tarn, and just photographing anything and everything. Insects, so lots of bumblebees and honeybees, everything, all on the insect side, right up to the ducks and swans and everything that are all on the lake, as well as a few birds flying. And I've found that there's probably maybe somewhere between 10 and 20% that are actually out of focus. So it's actually a massive, massive difference. Yes, the cost is a lot more. This is probably at least double the price of the Sigma. The other benefit I've also found with this as well is because this is 100-500mm, I already have the 24-105 lens. So it means that I've really probably got the 2 zoom ranges that I need, and it meant I could also take out my old 20-year-old 75-300 out of the bag as well. So I now really have all the focal ranges covered that I probably need. I've also ordered the 1.4 extender for this. It has its upsides as well as downsides. Yes, it will add to the reach, so from 500 I'll go to 700, but because the construction of this lens, you can't actually zoom it out to the 100mm with the extender on, so you've got to be at 300mm with the 1.4 extender. But walking around this place so far, you really do, I mean, it's amazing. It's really hilly. I mean, I've walked literally a mile uphill from where the car is, and it's only just this last little bit here that I've gone downhill and I'm now going uphill again. And it really is a case of looking in the sky for what's flying around, constantly stopping and listening and looking in the trees, and also looking around on all this vegetation. And I'm also finding that there's insects landing on the flowers. I know it's only about 5:15, but it's quite breezy and it's quite overcast as well. I'm probably about halfway through where I'm going to walk tonight, and so I've probably come about 1.5 to 2 miles from the car, and I'm now sort of zigzagging across the top and heading back. And to be honest, most of it so far has all been like this. It's all quite thick forest, and it's only on the odd occasion you get an opening like this where they've obviously felled the trees at some point and cleared this out, probably before they replant and do again. But this one does look a little bit different. Whether this has been left as something specific, I don't know. All of those boulders that are in the middle there, I'm certainly treating this more as a scouting trip than going after anything in particular. A few minutes ago I was just coming up to the corner that's behind me from the other way there, and I see what I thought just looked like a big brown boulder or something, and it was through all the sort of like the undergrowth, and it turned out to be a deer. And I didn't have an ideal shot of it. It was just going to be part of the body, not even the head, through the long grass. So while I was fumbling about trying to change some camera settings, ideally put my camera on silent mode so that I could try, and if it did appear right, to try and get a lot more images without frightening it off, it disappeared. So the question is, in that situation, what do you normally do? Do you wait to try and get the, not so much necessarily the ideal shot, but a pleasing shot, or do you just rattle off straight away, hoping that it will hear you and maybe move into that position that you want? Well, just coming down here, I've got to go around here, and I thought, and you get a lot of these sort of valleys around the forest, and I mean they are really quite interesting because you tend to get different types of growth here. So just trying to get different types of images here, either in a landscape or a portrait mode. It's really strange how the forest is so different in just a short walk from wherever you go. And as you can see here, all of this just looks like you've got all this moss stuff just hanging from the branches. And it's almost a bit like you get when you have trees by a river when it's flooded, where all the moss and everything is just stuck to the edge of the trees, and it's just everywhere in this section. As you can probably see there, there's a lot of trees that have fallen down in this forest due to the winds. And I've just come down to a clearing, and basically you can see the, I suppose, aftermath of them clearing some of the land and stripping it of all the trees. I mean, these stacks just run all the way down there, around the corner, and certainly all the way up that way, around the corner. This is not the last pile, they still carry on further around, but you can see the sheer size of these and how much of the land has actually been cleared. And I've got the tripod out this time, and I've gone for the nifty 50, and I just like the way you've got these almost like shoots of corn or wheat or whatever, obviously the grass of some type, And when the wind blows, just get the movement in those, and everything else totally static. So you've got the pile of logs and you've got the barren land just over the top. And I've stuck my variable neutral density filter on the front here, which put this up at about 5 stops of light so I could get a really slow shutter speed. So I've been trying different things between so like a half a second and also 1 second exposure time, just to see what it comes out like. And I just think having that moving grass in the front just gives the image sort of like a movement that life is carrying on, but meanwhile everything in the background has just been totally wiped out. Finally back to the car. It's now 9:15 at night and I've been probably gone about 4.5 hours going around there. Only about 4 to 5 miles, but it was a lot of going up and down hills. So it was a bit of an odd one, this one. It was, I suppose because it's the first time I've been here, it's, I suppose, some form of a scouting mission to see what the place is like, to see whether I decide to come back or not, or how I should progress on that. But at the same time, I was also trying to get the most out of while I was here. Now, the new RF 100-500, as far as I can see from the images I've got, performed absolutely brilliantly. And I did carry that around on the camera literally all the time. And it didn't feel awkward or anything, even though I was mainly looking for wildlife with the larger lens. It probably wasn't the best way to do it, just literally walking around all the time. You're chasing the wildlife, it spots you fairly early, and then either retreats at a certain distance or just disappears. So I think sometimes you have to think what you're looking to get when you come to a trip like this, especially for the first time. I wanted to scout and to go for a nice walk and see where everything was, even though probably the walk was a bit too long. But I wanted to make sure that I got some images. And getting towards the end of the walk there, I did switch to the 35mm and also the Nifty 50. But I think the real thing that I found today was probably 2 missed shots that I should have probably known better for. The first one, I did mention I see a deer through some long grass on a corner, and I was fumbling around with the camera trying to get it to silent shutter, which I've never used before, so that hopefully I didn't startle the deer and I could wait for it to appear from the grass and take quite a few images. But by the time I'd actually looked up from the camera, no sign of the deer. If anything, I think I heard it probably barking a good probably 100 yards away by that time, just like it was laughing at me. And the second one, after I'd done that image with all the logs and the moving grasses, now I'd put the camera on a 2-second timer to make sure that I got the majority of the image as sharp as possible, but just have the motion of the moving grass. And when I finished that and put my larger lens back on, I adjusted the shutter speed, the aperture, so that it was all ready to go again, but I hadn't changed the 2-second timer. So I went to take a picture of a bird and there it was. Camera started beeping at me, 2-second timer. By the time I had finished, the bird had flown off. So I suppose the lesson there is as well, is that especially when you're looking to be in a position like I was with the larger lens to take more of the grab shots, just make sure you've got the right settings before you even start moving. Hopefully there are 1 or 2 good images there. I mean, this place is, I've got to say, is really nice. It's a lot of walking, it's quite hilly, but I'm sure I will be back again. Thanks a lot for watching.